What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Football Talk with Vinny. And if you saw by the title, obviously J.J. Watt is now an Arizona Cardinal. So obviously that's some huge news that we heard yesterday. Now the deal is for 2 years, $31 million with 23 guaranteed. So you got a little bit over $15 million a year. So that is a lot considering he is an older pass rusher, but again, like I said, he did have a good season last year, so he is still playing at a high level. So it's kind of expected to get something not along the lines of Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald at 20, 21, 22, but he still did get paid as a top-end pass rusher. As for the team, obviously Arizona was not even listed in any of the teams I had listed. I didn't feel like he would go there. I felt like there were other teams that maybe were more championship ready. But obviously when you think about it, it does make a lot of sense, right? D-Hop is there, right? They were teammates for a long time in Houston. So you have to figure that the recruiting process for D-Hop to get J.J. Watt there was very big. Also, the way the National Football League works, even the teams that were really good last year and the teams that were 8-8, 9-7, which Arizona was last year, they could make a leap, right? And it just takes a couple tweaks here and there. And instead of being an 8-8 team, you're an 11-5 team or a 12-4 team. And all of a sudden you are one of the top threats to come out of the NFC. So while I do think there was other teams he could go to, Arizona, it's not like he went to a bottom feeder team where he clearly just took the money, right? Again, Arizona won 8 games last year. If Kyler Murray improves even a little bit off of what he had last year, which was a great year last year, right? And obviously with the defense, Chandler Jones missed significant time with an injury, right? So if you're able to get him back with J.J. Watt, you have 2 of the best pass rushers in the league, right? So you do have the makings of a team that could get better, and also, instead of winning 8-9 games, maybe you get to 10-11, and at that point you're in the playoffs, and once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Also, I was just looking through Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and I saw some stats for you. So since 2012, the top sack leaders are Chandler Jones at 97 and J.J. Watt at 95.5. So you literally, over the last 9 years, you have the top 2 guys who's had the most sacks in the league since 2012. Which I think is very important when you play in a league or a division, especially with Russell Wilson and now Matthew Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo, right? You are going to have to get after the quarterback. Also, if you make the playoffs and you're going to try to win and beat some of the dominant teams, you have to go through guys like Aaron Rodgers, right? Patrick Mahomes, maybe Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen if Buffalo were to get to the Super Bowl next year. Right, so you are going to have to be able to get after the passer, and if you just have one dominant rusher, it's great, but it's not as good as when you have 2 guys or 3 guys that can get after the passer, because now it's tough to double team either guy, because when you double team one, it means you're going to leave single coverage blocking on a guy like J.J. Watt or Chandler Jones, which obviously is not smart. Or what it does is it slows down your entire offense, because now you have to go into 2 tight end formations, or maybe 1 tight end and a running back, and you have the tight end chip on one side and the running back chip on the other side, or both tight ends chip. So at that point, you're now delaying the routes. So now, even though you're chipping the DNs, it doesn't allow for those players to kind of get into their routes quickly, and now they're kind of delayed. So now it puts more pressure on your receivers outside to win their one-on-ones, because although you might have that extra half a second or so of time, it's only really the only people who have that extra time is really the wide receivers. The tight ends and the running backs are having to chip, so they're really delaying their own routes. Now, obviously, the fact that he didn't go to a team like Green Bay and Buffalo, when you look at the cap numbers, it kind of makes sense, right? Again, Green Bay is over the cap, They're going to have to either restructure some deals or cut some players just to get at that cap figure. A team like Buffalo, they're right at the cap as well. So again, it's tough to see either team freeing up $15 million to sign a guy like J.J. Watt. Now, obviously, teams like Buffalo, right, where they're right at the cap, it's just an unfortunate situation because the cap went down about $30 million from what it was projected to be, before coronavirus. So teams like Buffalo and even Green Bay, instead of having minus 20, they would have had 10. And Buffalo, instead of being at like roughly 0, they would have had 30, right? Which is more than enough to sign a guy like J.J. Watt. And I think that's going to happen a lot during free agency with a lot of players is their options are going to be a little limited because of the way coronavirus has affected team salary cap space, right? So if you don't have much salary cap space, there's not many options to go to, which makes it a little limited. But yeah, if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, you have to be super excited right now because you have to believe that next year Kyler Murray is going to get even better, even though he was already fantastic last year. And if he gets even better, that offense could be a top 3 offense, and that alone could win you 8, 9, 10 ball games. And if your defense can just get a couple of stops, you're all of a sudden a 12, 13 win team, right? And with Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt now, you have 2 dominant pass rushers, kind of like what the Colts did, right? With Peyton Manning, you had Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. So you had an elite offense, and your defense was really predicated around having 2 good pass rushers that can just get after the other team's quarterback when your offense builds leads, which they're going to do consistently throughout the season. So I think it's no different in Arizona now. Your offense will be able to consistently put up points and get leads, and you're going to need your defense to get stops. And the best way to get stops, as we saw in the Super Bowl, is to be able to get after the opposing team's quarterback. When you can get after their quarterback, you force them into some difficult throws. You also throw the timing off from the receivers, and you're just able to kind of create turnovers usually when that starts happening, right? Even the mobile quarterbacks, if you have them running on almost every play, they're going to make some bad decisions because they get tired, they get fatigued. Quarterbacks usually not used to running around as often. And if you can make them run around in the pocket or make them move around and maybe fear the rush, right? Like Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. If you can do that, you can give yourself a chance to get some stops and get some turnovers. And if you can get turnovers and give your offense a short field, it's going to make it much easier for your offense to put up 7 points. So all in all, if I'm J.J. Watt, I like the move too. You get to go back and play with D-Hop, right, who was your good teammate in Houston. And also, again, you're not going to a team that has no chance of making the playoffs, right? I think they missed a game off of a tiebreaker with Chicago last year. So I think adding a guy like J.J. Watt, getting Chandler Jones back, this is definitely one of the favorites now to at least make the playoffs. Again, 7 teams are going to make it. So it's hard to find 7 teams that are going to be better record-wise than Arizona. So I think just with that, again, once you make the playoffs, anything can happen, and when you have a quarterback that's special like Kyler Murray is, that gives you an even better chance when you get in the playoffs to win. So that's it for today's video. Just want to kind of give you my instant reaction of them signing J.J. Watt. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like and also subscribe. It does help the channel out. And thank you guys so much for watching.